Eventually, the Justice League will get too old to be the Justice League. So who's going to become the new Justice League? Well, they're kids, of course. And what happens to the Teen Titans if they finally do fail and disband? Those are the two stories that we are going to be covering today in our Future State coverage. This is the Comicstorian channel where we take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. We then read it dramatically back to you. Now, Future State is a fun little 2-month event at DC Comics in which we discuss Elseworlds and other storyline ideas within the possibilities of the DC Omniverse. Now, let's get into Justice League number 1. The Justice League first came together, like their predecessors, to fight against a multiversal threat. The battle against a Starro-controlled Darkseid tested their abilities not only as heroes, but as a team. Crisis after crisis brought them together as a team, proving that they were just as powerful as those that came before them. The son of Superman stepped up when the world needed him most. The new Wonder Woman fought to bring peace to gods and man. The new Batman truly saved Gotham. The Green Lantern of a far sector brought the core together. The Flash came out of the multiverse to help solve a great mystery. They stayed behind to help the team. The Daughter of the Ocean took on the role of Aquawoman and explored the universe. They are the Justice League. And I hate them! T.O. Morrow shouts as he slams his robotic fist against the table. He begins to cough that he hates the Justice League despite some of the world not accepting them, yet he knows the truth. Ivo interrupts his friend looking at the gathering of the new Legion of Doom. Despara, Amazex, Cobalt Blue, the Screech Owl, the Flood, the Ultraviolet Light. Each of them have their own reasons for hating a member of the League, but now, we won't have to fight them alone, T.O. Morrow cackles. Looking back at the gathering of supervillains, he has discovered a way to defeat the League. Tomorrow, the Justice League will die! And the next day, the Justice League stands in the room where the Legion of Doom held their meeting. Whoa, the Legion of Doom is dead? You want to check the evidence? Wonder Woman asks, but it's Aquawoman who shakes her head. They're not Barry Wonder Woman. Crime scenes were his deal, she reminds her friend. I think we're stepping in the flood. Ugh, Flash says, shaking their boot. Green Lantern continues to scan the room, ordering everyone to avoid destroying any evidence, but Batman suddenly stands behind her. He steps into the puddle that the flood has become, ordering Flash to check for survivors. It's a matter of seconds before they return, informing the team that the building is clear. I can't believe that they left the Hall of Justice like this. What wrecked the place? They ask. John looks around the hall, remembering when he used to visit as a young boy, before he was Superman. He tells Flash that the team had got too big, and that someone used their secrets against them. That's what led to the Justice League Charter. All new rules, the mandatory secret identities, no fraternization, no sharing our true lives, he explains. And Andy nods, telling about how her mom and dad brought her to visit when they were part of the team. So many good memories. I hate seeing it like this, she says as she stares up at the old statues of the Justice League. The League steps outside to the shouts of their adoring crowd. Flash running around quickly, taking hollow selfies with everyone, but Green Lantern hasn't stopped working yet. She looks at the team and tells them to take off so that she can get her job done. It's been a while since I've had an interesting crime scene, she explains. The team begins to disperse and John asks Batman what he thinks about the growing team. But when he turns back, the Dark Knight is gone. The more things change, he sighs, but Yara finishes the sentence. The more things change, she says with a smile, holding up a hot dog for Superman. Come on, have you ever had a hot dog at 1,000 feet? Best in the city, she tells him. They fly above the city and John begins to talk about growing the League. But Yara stops him, reminding him that they all decided that the new rules made things safer after what happened to the old League, so that we'd be a smaller, tighter team and only be together when we were really needed. The Justice League used to be more than a team, John sighs, but Yara points out the city and shows John that they saved the world, that things are better now. Remember, Superman, your father was the man of tomorrow. You have to be the man of today, she tells him and leaps off the building. Meanwhile, at her home in Amnesty Bay, Andy cooks her dinner while informing her parents that the Legion of Doom is dead. They tell her that if she ever needs to talk or needs their help, she just needs to call. Okay, love you, bye, she tells them, quickly ending the transmission when suddenly there's a whoosh of air in the room. How many times do I have to tell you to be careful? She tells Flash as they appear on the couch. Why? Will the king and queen be mad that you're hanging out with someone from a different Earth? Flash asks. They tell her that they were just checking to make sure that she was okay after today. And Andy nods, sitting down with a bucket of popcorn, reminding Flash that they aren't supposed to be hanging out. That's a rule made by the old Justice League that we should have left in the dust, Flash tells her with a smile. Andy opens up her mouth and tells Flash that the rule is meant to protect them as they feed her a piece of popcorn. But why do you break the rules for me, Princess? They ask with a smile, when suddenly the beeping of the light's perimeter alarm interrupts them. The Flash speeds outside to find Superman and Wonder Woman waiting. We need to talk, Superman says simply. Meanwhile, over at the Hall of Justice, Green Lantern discovers who killed the Legion of Doom. She puts out an alert to the team with her ring, beginning to tell them who killed the Legion. Hey Joe, Superman calls as he descends upon her. Superman, since when do we use real names? She asks. Meanwhile, at the lighthouse, Andy and Flash are confused. Green Lantern? What do you mean? Superman is here, Flash tells their teammate. Wonder Woman lashes out with a strange red energy and Flash suddenly disappears. Andy hesitates for a second before attacking her two teammates. She lashes out at Wonder Woman with a water-bending power before leaping into the air at Superman. My gauntlets were forged in the depths of the trench. It can even cut your skin, Superman. She snarls as she lashes out at his face. She rears back in shock as she sees a pale white skin beneath it though, the wounds healing up almost immediately. Suddenly Wonder Woman is there attacking Andy with red energy again, and with a flash of light, Aqua Woman is gone. Meanwhile at the Hall of Justice, Superman floats down before the Green Lantern. What did you find, Joe? He asks, and she drops down into a combat stance knowing that it was Superman who killed the Legion. She launches forward with an attack, commanding her ring to scan the imposter. Scans show that this is Superman, John Kent, the ring chimes. Joe tries to hit him again, but Superman holds up a box and hits her with the red energy, and she disappears. The Green Lantern is taken care of, report in, Superman commands, and throughout the world, the Justice League is being taken care of by their own team members. Superman falls, Batman and Wonder Woman, and at the Hall of Justice, the League suddenly appears through a portal. I hope the League enjoys the hell that we were trapped in, Batman tells his team, and Wonder Woman and Flash look at Superman asking if it was wise to kill the Legion. They freed us, the Flash reminds them. Superman smiles as his image shifts in Morse, and the others drop their own disguises, and suddenly, the Hyper Clan stands ready. White Martians that journeyed to Earth in the guise of heroes. Their plans of world domination were destroyed when the Justice League stomped them. This time, though, we'll just be the Justice League. Come on, let's save the world, their leader states as he shifts back into Superman and the team takes flight. Two men stand around a burning oil can. They discuss how the sunset looks different today, and one man nods, telling him that it's all the pollution in the sky. Nah, that's what they want you to think, the other tells him, and he explains that the blue sky is merely a glamour, a fake that people behind the veil want you to see. The real color shows the feelings of the world for that day. The old man looks at the sky, seeing how it looks like a bruise, knowing that something awful must have happened. Aren't you supposed to be blind? His friend asked. Elsewhere in the Mojave Desert, in the not-so-distant future, Bobo looks out over the landscape with Zatanna, reminding her that things are bad, that Merlin returned and draped the sky in glamour, that their team lost its way, but they step down from the hill and they look at the surroundings of the burned witches around them. This is really bad, he reminds her, as Zatanna nods, going over past events. Merlin took all magic. The Tower of Fate fell, Khaled disappeared while looking for a way to fix the helm. We resisted, we fought, we were betrayed, and we lost, and this is what it's like to lose. She tells him as she motions to the burned stakes. Zatanna sighs. She's long past fighting back at this point, but Bobo continues to look at the scene with his magnifying glass. He informs her that this is definitely Merlin's hunters. They've rounded up the prisoners and tied them to the stakes. Bobo keeps looking, finding footprints that indicate that the hunters were led by a knight, and he looks at the patterns of the burns. They burned them one at a time, made the others watch, Bobo tells her, and Zatanna finally turns away. It was torture. They were interrogating the prisoners. That's why the knight was here, she tells him. And she looks around wondering what they're looking for, but stops short when she sees the charred remains of Zuriel. How did he let himself be caught? How did they burn an angel? Bobo gasps. And Zatanna turns back to Bobo, telling him that the demons should see this. Bobo argues for a minute, but finally begins the spell to release him. Gone, gone the Simian! Rise the demon Etrigan! He chants. In a burst of flames, the chimp is replaced by the Duke of Hell. Etrigan curses, reminding the magician that he hates being summoned, but he pauses when he looks up at the charred remains of the angel. Great foes, angels and demons, are you not? Does it bring you joy to see him like this? Zatanna asks as Etrigan hangs his head. She points to their dead friend, reminding Etrigan that this is the price of his betrayal. Etrigan looks at the palm of Zuriel's hand, finding an amulet clutched there. Zatanna is shocked, wondering who would be reckless enough to deal in magical items with Merlin's hunters around. "I know of one so naive," Etrigan rumbles. Zatanna looks at him. She doesn't know why he turned his back on them. "The least you can do is show me where this all came from." The door chimes at the relics and riches. Rory Reagan steps from the back, yelling that they are closed, and he stops short when he sees Zatanna and the demon. "You're safe! You have no idea how glad I am to see you," Zatanna shouts as she rushes forward to hug the man, and Rory tells her that he's been laying low, and this used to be his father's shop, but he stops short, pointing at Etrigan. "What's he doing here? With everything you've done? You've got some nerve showing up here," he snaps. The demon holds up the amulet, reminding Rory that if he can follow the scent of magic here, so can Merlin's hunters. Rory sighs and explains that he tried to tell them that it would get them killed. "Why wouldn't they listen, Rory? Who did you sell this to?" Zatanna asks. Rory goes back behind the counter, telling her that he's had several random conjurers show up. There's a few big hitters. Zuriel and John were working together. He explains as Zatanna is shocked to hear John Constantine's name, and Rory explains that he wouldn't tell him what was going on. "But I'm no fool. I know what they were doing, Z," he tells her as he pulls out a map. He shows her the map and explains that they were planning on casting a cloaking spell. She asks if he knows where they were planning to cast it, and he points out a place on the map. "I'd probably put it somewhere around here," he explains, and suddenly Etrigan interrupts him as he peers out the window. "Shh, hearken and keep to the shadows, you boots. We've lingered and now there are dogs at the doors," he whispers. The sound of banging can be heard at the door as Merlin's hunters order Rory to open up. They know that the back door will be covered, so Zatanna turns to Etrigan and tells him that they could fight if he'll help. "I cannot stand against Merlin's foes," he explains, and Rory gets angry that Etrigan still won't help them, but the demon explains that he made a pact, a contract. "My pact is nothing about aiding others. There is yet a way you can fight your way out," he explains, and Rory stares at him for a moment before realizing what he means. No, anything but that. He leads them downstairs and explains that Ragman's suit has a mind of its own, that it hungers for souls, and after it ran out, he kept it chained in the basement gathering dust. "Don't make me do this, please," he whispers, but Etrigan reminds him that he is the Duke of Hell and has many souls. He offers them to Rory, telling the Ragman that it should be enough to get them out of the fight. "I cannot be seen fighting alongside you, so I leave. Do not summon me again," Etrigan rumbles at them before he disappears. The hunters outside hear voices from inside, and suddenly the front of the store explodes outward as a Ragman leaps among them. The demon's souls make it truly a monster as he smashes and destroys the many hunters. They retreat in fear, trying to pin down the beast with their magical attacks. "What kind of a soul did Etrigan give Ragman?" Bobo questions. A very large and angry one, it would seem. Zatanna notes, and Z casts a spell, causing the ground to rumble beneath the hunter's feet. She turns to Bobo, ordering the chimp to open up the portal with his sword. "Ragman, we're leaving!" she shouts, and the monster tears through the hunters to get to her. As Bobo opens up the portal, Z tells him to get close to the east side of Vegas. And later, the trio stand on a rooftop, unable to find anything. "Maybe I got it wrong. I suppose I could have made a mistake," Rory tells them, but suddenly a light flickers to life from the shadows. "A mistake you made, Squire? Was not taking my advice in the first place. I told you to leave it alone, didn't I?" John says as he steps out, revealing the scar on his face, and he smiles to Z, exchanging pleasantries. Bobo steps up, asking if John is building a safe haven with his cloaking device. "Safe haven? Is that what you think this is?" John asks, as he leads them through the slums, explaining that they are merely trying to buy themselves some time. "Who's we?" Zatanna asks him, and John leads them into a bar, revealing Madame Xanadu. "We've been following her cards. They asked us to hide someone here, but lately, that's all they say." "Who, John? Who are you hiding?" Z continues to ask, and John pours himself a drink and points to the old blind man sitting outside. "Are you serious? You've been watching over him?" Z asks in anger, and Xanadu finally speaks, reminding Zatanna that the cards are never wrong. "Protect the old man at all costs," they whisper. Over and over, she tells her. And she draws the cards again, and John looks up in shock. "They changed. You picked up a different card." He gasps as he looks at the devil card. The group begin to question what that means, but it's Bobo who sighs. "I hate this part," he tells them, and in a moment, Etrigan appeared once again, cursing as he steps into the rain. "Where is this old man you wish me to look upon?" The old man is standing in the rain, holding a cup of coffee, and he opens it slightly, revealing what's inside to be glowing. "I have looked into my coffee cup. and it has shown me this moment. I am supposed to meet you here at this hour," the old man says shakily. Etrigan stares for a moment before revealing that the old man is covered in a glamour that only a demon can see through. Etrigan rears back, breathing hellfire all over the old man, and the visage of the old man begins to melt away, revealing the truth before them. "My God!" Xanadu exclaims, and Khaled stands there apologizing for his deception. He explains that he had to remain hidden from Merlin and that only Etrigan could reveal the truth. "So I could tell you about Jason Blood," he tells them, and he puts on the helm of fate. "So listen carefully to my story before we make our final stand, and I will tell you of the future that I saw and how we may change it." Titan's Island and the destruction of New York City, Dick Grayson and Emiko step through the rubble, standing before the graves of their dead friends. 2 minutes, Emiko, then back to work," Dick tells her. She falls to her knees before the grave marker of Wallace West, tears in her eyes. "Sorry, he's being extra Nightwingy today," she whispers. Nightwing moves off, venturing further into the broken remains of their old team base, and he reaches down, finding the old Red X mask buried under some of the bricks. Memories of an old birthday party flash through his mind. Someone has brought his old mask, but he didn't know who. One of the students, perhaps? "They're very resourceful," Corey tells him, and she looks down at the gathering of their old friends, teammates, and new Titans that they've all started to train, and Dick smiles. "I think we're doing good here, Corey. We finally got it right." Nightwing then flashes back to the present as Emiko comes up behind him. "God, this all feels like a lifetime ago," she says as she kicks aside an old trophy that reads World's Best Titan. They continue to pick through the rubble of the tower, and they finally find what they're looking for. "Chances are that it even works is astronomical," Dick says as he opens up the H dial. "Only one way to find out," Emiko tells him. "There's lots of ways to find out if the H dial works, Emiko. Blindly switching it on and blinking out of existence would be, the worst one," Nightwing tells her. Suddenly their comms crackle, and Corey tells them there has been a change of plans. They're back. In the Titan safe house beneath Queens, Corey leans over the sleeping form of Psybeast. "What happened, Psy?" she says, concern on her face. It's later as Nightwing and Arrow arrive at the base that Nightwing tells her to pump their friend full of adrenaline. "It's reckless," Corey argues, but Nightwing shakes his head, pointing at his jet ski towards the dock. "Reckless is what got me out of Gotham in one piece before the fall. We have to know why they came back, Corey. Time is critical," Nightwing tells her. But she continues to argue that it doesn't matter since they aren't ready anyway. "You go with the armor you have, not the one you want," Nightwing says. "You're even starting to sound like him," Corey sounds. But Nightwing continues to argue, telling her that they need to prep a radio drone and a team for the field. But Corey has stopped listening and hung up their comms. A short while later, Arrow enters the command room, informing Corey that they should have waited for Nightwing. Corey looks around the room at the current group of Titans. Brat Girl, Gorilla Greg, Totally Tubular, Jakeem, Johnny Thunder, and Chupacabra. She tells them that they're trying to re-establish comms with Shazam's field team. "We've lost too many people, but we're not giving up and neither should you. Let's get this done, Titans. By the book," Corey tells the group. And then they quickly disperse, with Arrow trying to break in, telling Corey what they found at Titan's Tower. But Corey interrupts her before she can say too much. And as the team disperses, Nightwing steps out of the shadows. "What was that?" he asks, wanting to know why she hid the fact that they found the H-dial from them. "Because I told you. That plan is off the table, and I don't answer to you, Nightwing," Corey tells him before turning and walking away. The dragon turns his head, and Raven attacks, casting a spell shrinking the dragon to a smaller size before wrapping him up. But suddenly the spell ends, and Raven is once again sitting in the sub-basement prison of the safe house. "Damn it, I'm out!" she snaps. "I don't know what happened." But a voice speaks to her from the shadows of the cage in front of her, and the voice tells her that she wasn't paying attention, that her team stepped left and she moved right. "Then I need more training. Let's go again," she says. But the voice refuses, telling her that they have taken her as far as they are willing to go. "Come back when you're ready to do more. Until then, stay out of my head," he tells her. And suddenly their argument is interrupted as Raven can sense that Psybeast has reawakened. The group gathers around the weird melding of Cyborg and Beast Boy, now known as Psybeast. The hero smiles, telling Corey that they managed to find the Spear of Destiny. "That's what the big covert mission was all about?" Emiko asks. And Psybeast turns to her, explaining that it was about ending the apocalypse. Corey is shocked, believing that finding the spear would take months. But Emiko shakes her head, believing that the spear won't be able to destroy the Riders. They're too powerful. At that moment, Raven enters the room, and the young magic user explains that the spear was never meant to destroy the Riders, but to bring them to one place, where we can make our last stand. She looked back at them, telling them that it worked and the riders have converged on Billy and his team. It's time. Elsewhere, Crush is holding up the spear as Bunker tries to hold back the riders, but in a blast of energy, the spear is destroyed, leaving Crush's hands smoking. Well, that was short-lived. What do we do now? She asks Shazam. In the past, though, back where it all began, Red X stands before the energy cocoon. He orders the Titans to stand back, that he won't allow them to kill one of their own students. The Titans try to reason with the young hero, but he seems angry and hysterical. Nightwing steps forward, asking why the man is wearing his old mask. Because I know what really happened, Dick. I know why you won't put this mask on after all those years. Red X stood for something then, and he stands for something today, Red X tells him, but Dick is only a distraction, and Donna and Montez hit the man from behind. Suddenly, a blast of energy leaps out of the cocoon, beginning to suck the life force out of the two heroes, and now Dick stands before the cage. Is this some sort of second chance? The prisoner asks. For me, not for you, Nightwing tells him. Dick deactivates the cage, telling him that they won't let Rachel take this on alone. The Titans are dead and I'm tired and ready to win one, Dick says as he hands the Red X mask over and he puts on his own. As Red X steps out of the cage, Nightwing turns and we now see that he's wearing the Deathstroke mask. No matter what it takes, Dick says. And there you guys have it. That is Justice League #1, Justice League Dark #1, and Teen Titans #1. Now, for my opinion, I'm interested in what's going on with Teen Titans, but overall, the story's not catching me as well as I was hoping it would. But I do like the idea of Dick Grayson being Nightwing. And as for the Justice League, that is one of my favorite storylines in Future State right now. Justice League 1 and Justice League Dark. I find them both super fascinating. Now, don't forget, guys, every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, depending on what came out the week before, we're going to be bringing you Future State videos featuring multiple issues within Future State so that you can keep up with some of my favorite Future State storylines. Now, don't forget, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian, where you can get early access to a lot of our videos. And I want to take a moment to personally thank a few of our Patreons. From Bayle Tara, thank you so much for your support. Tyler Sexton, thank you so much. Cody M, thank you so much. And Tom Liggett. You guys are great, and we really appreciate your support over at the extended Comicstorian family. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching the video this far in. I will see you next time right here at Future State.